Well, welcome back to Alice Customs Project Car TV. Today I am finally going to do something I've been wanting to do since I bought my 2016 Dodge in 2018, and that's put a flatbed on it. So I bought this one because it gives me a great basis, even though it doesn't have some of the features I want. It doesn't have fenders, it doesn't have any side toolboxes. I basically want a bed that looks, that they call skirted, or looks like a regular bed in that it has sides on it and you're not just staring at the frame of the truck. This doesn't have that, but it does give me a nice bed to work from. There's a lot of good steel in here. The headache rack, as you can see, bolts on and is adjustable up and down. So this bed has a gooseneck receiver built in, but it's in a box that's sunk into the bed itself. And on my truck, I also have a gooseneck hitch. That's the B&W flip hitch, so you get a nice smooth bed when it's not in use. I want to make that work on this because I don't want it down in that well where you then have a lid that hides it to give you the smooth bed. And then when you want to use it, you kind of have to lift that out of the way, hide it somewhere, do something with that lid, and it's rattling around somewhere. This is going to be noisy compared to the factory bed just because of I'm going to have boxes and stuff on the outside, and I don't want to add to that. So what we're going to do is take the bed off of my Dodge pickup. I've already got the tailgate off and about ready to pull the bumper. We've got to disconnect some wiring for the lights and for the backup sensors, and the camera that was in the tailgate, I already unplugged that. I am going to try to incorporate not only my backup sensors but also the backup camera from the tailgate into this bed, because I do like the feature. I don't really use it very much for backing up, but I do like the feature of being able to see the ball on my trailer hitch when I'm backing up to pick up a tongue pull trailer. But that's what we're going to start with, and then over the next year or 6 months, I don't know, some period of time, we're going to start adding the features I actually want on this bed to it. So we're going to get some fenders and add those. Once the fenders are in place, we'll have a good idea of what we can do for boxes, and we'll either buy some if we can find some existing ones, or we'll build them. And then when it's all done and I'm happy and we've got all the features on it that we're done welding on it, then I'll take this down, have it sandblasted, and we'll get it done up in silver to match the truck to begin. Alright, so you've seen the first test fit. This front cross member hits the fuel filter mechanism, or whatever. It hits the thing that holds the fuel filter. The second cross member hits just about the dead center of my B&W flip hitch, which is actually up in a pocket on the factory frame. So that's in the way. The last two actually seem like they're going to clear initially. So we're going to come back, we're going to cut the welds on these two, pull these two pieces of tubing out, back the truck back under, set it back down, try another test fit. Okay, well, it's the next morning. I worked till about 5:30 last night, just essentially raising this up, pulling the truck out, cutting pieces off, lowering the truck, or backing the truck in, lowering the bed, over and over and over. It took 5 or 6, attempts at fitting it, and it's pretty close to where it needs to be. It's really still too high, but you can kind of see back here on the headache rack, it's already below the roof height. Good thing about this particular brand is the headache rack is adjustable, so it can go up about 4 or 5 inches from where it's at, which I think will put it right. We're still too high on the bed height, but we're getting pretty close to the tire height here. Now, one of the things I thought may have to happen is I may need to cut this bed rail out of the way and put my fender up to the bottom side of this flatbed so that I'm all the way up in here, which would mean cutting out probably part of this side here as part of the arch. Right now, the sides are what is acting as my strength front to back. So I don't want to cut out anything over here until I have the front to rear strength put back in, which means either having it mounted completely to the frame and or adding some rails front to back on this. Now, it had some, as you'll remember, it had some cross pieces that a previous owner had put in, and then it had rails. It was C-channel, which is right here. And I cut all that off because it just kept the bed way too high. It wasn't going to let me use my flip hitch, and has the bed height higher than the stock bed height. So I want this bed as low as possible so that I can use the steps on the side of the truck. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm close to the height that I want. I need to raise it back up, pull the truck back out, change the headache rack height so that, because right now where it hits, the thing that's hitting is the actual headache rack at the bottom is hitting some of the plumbing and wiring that goes to the back of the truck. So I just need to pull the truck out, raise that up as high as I can get it. While I've got it off, when I cut that C-channel off, I couldn't get to all the welds, so I just kind of cut around them. So I need to get in there and cut away the rest of that now. And then that should let me drop it at least another inch to an inch and a half from where it is. And we'll see if that's enough or what else we need to do. I think we're going to have to modify a couple of the cross members to get it to the right height, but we're very close. And added this cross member with a little bit of a kick down, and there's a nut welded inside there. Same here, another nut welded inside there. Those, and same on the back one back here. It's where they bolt to the frame there. This cross member, just had to modify these to sit on the frame on a rubber pad that's on there. So that's those. And then up front here, all we had to do is drill a hole in the cross member. And then I've got a capture bolt to go in there. So this is where the fuel was supposed to go through. This is where it is going through. You can see it's just a lot of work. Had to take all those rails off and then make these plates, weld them to the truck, or bolt them to the truck, and then put the bed back on and get it all welded in. And I've just got some black spray paint shot under here to keep it from rusting. So now it's time to get the truck under here and let's get the wiring figured out. All right, so here's the adapter setup that I've got to go from the factory harness to the LED taillights on the flatbed. Winter has hit. Started getting this flatbed on, and I finally cleared enough stuff out from under it that it sits down where I want it. And you can see kind of some. I still need to make a plate to cover the center up and leave my gooseneck ball and then the chain hooks sticking through. But this panel that was the door on there is a little bit too small to really make it fit nice and clean, so we'll just pick up a new piece of expanded metal. In the meantime, before I take this off, one of the last few things I really feel like I need to get done is to get my fenders cut in. And right now, this tire is just inside. This comes around and makes a lip about an inch deep. This is the piece off the other side, so you can see, got the arch, and then has a pretty good lip on there. And that lip will just clear the tire until it gets down into about here, and then it's going to hit the sidewall. Now, two problems with that. One is I don't want to tear up the tires, and two, it'd be a nightmare if I had to put chains on this truck, you know, the next time I was driving during the winter. And last winter I chained up a couple times. So what I found for a solution for that is a big fender. It's 14 gauge. It's like 36 inches out here, which is smaller than I want, but it's I think 12 inches or 13 inches wide. So it's 13 inches wide, 36 inches across the bottom of the opening here, which is smaller than I need. I really need about 41 plus inches. The original wheel well on the pickup bed was like 44 at the bottom. We're not going to quite get it that big. But what I figured out how to do is took a fabric tape. So a tape measure that you can, you know, your wife probably has one if you steal it. It wasn't my idea. Anyway, you measure all the way across this, find the center, and then on the other side, I've already done one. On the other side, I cut the fender in half. And then I came out here. Here's the center of the tire. I went 2 inches behind it and 2 inches in front of it, and laid the fender up on here. Drew out my arch where this is going to sit roughly, and cut it out. And then with the fender cut in half, I'm putting basically a 4-inch flat spot in the middle, and we just have to build this curve back when we're done, because we're going to let the fender hang out by about an inch, so that you get just a little lip out here. I don't have to have mud flaps because the fender comes down past the bar here. It'll come down close to where the exhaust height is in the back. And then we can fill in the sides at some point and put toolboxes in here, front and back. And we can build all the way up to the fender, and we'll have a nice flat-sided flatbed. So I've got it down as low as I need. I've got the headache rack up as high as it needs to be. I have figured out the wiring, which will be a separate video because it's kind of cool, and I want to share that information for whether you're doing this or just wanting to switch over to LED taillights. That wiring would be the same process. So I want to share that with everybody for that. I'm going to get this fender figured out, cut it in half, get them laid in here, get it cut. I kind of used the other side to give me a little bit of an idea of where I needed it. And then we're going to take the tire off, get this cut out. Probably just use the plasma torch for that. And then start welding in the fender. We'll have to build some braces off the bottoms of the fenders up into the bed, because we don't want it vibrating itself loose. I mean, it's only going to be welded here and where there's a couple of cross braces that are in the bed under here. One here and one right about here. So to keep it from just vibrating, we'll put some braces in off the front and back edge. And then when we get the toolboxes built, the toolboxes will take place of those braces. So we'll just make some temporary, you know, 1/2-inch square tubing or something welded in there. Just something fairly simple. One other thing, I did cut this rub rail off. It used to be all the way up on here. I did cut it off. That's why the bed's been sanded a little bit, where I was trying to get the welds cut down. And we'll be putting some sort of this back on, but I imagine it's just going to be behind the fender. I plan on putting a little gusset here to stabilize the headache rack, and it's going to come down. And I don't imagine when I do that there'll actually be room for the rub rail towards the front. So that'll just be a different change, but that was one of the preps I've already done. Now my tape is not quite long enough to measure the whole arch in one go. So I've got it measured, and then I just marked some numbers on top with the different measurements, and then I'm going to match it up. And it comes out pretty close to 30.5 inches from both sides. Show you what we're talking about. There's where it measured out. Hopefully you can see that. So we'll cut that in half just with a death wheel. Sorry for the extra noise. That's the heater running. Just trying to speak up. Anyway, you can see what I've got now. I've split the fender in half. I've got a 4-inch gap here, and it's the same at the front and the back. I know on the camera it looks all out of shape. And then I took just a silver Sharpie, marked it on the sidewall of the flatbed here. And we'll unclamp these take the tire off, then we'll take our plasma cutter and just cut that out. And then with that cut out, we can slide these in, and we're going to leave just the curve here sticking out. All right, now you can see a little better. Got some lines to cut out here. Got the wheel and tire off, brake and everything covered up. There's nothing back here to prevent us from getting in there and cutting. You know, no wires or brake lines, hoses, nothing like that. So we're going to get in here and cut this off. So now what I've got is everything cut out. I just took a flap wheel and cleaned that up a little bit, and then the ribs that go across, the channel that goes across the bed, I notched it out where the fender was going to sit in there, and there was one right here and one right here. So I got those notched out, and then I just set the fender up in there, put it up on the jack here, and on the back side I put a piece of 3/16 plate between the fender and my step to give me a nice gap there. Both the front sides are both set in the same place now. And I came back and threw a couple of tack welds on it. We'll get a couple more clamps across this end, and then we'll burn it in to the bottom side of this bed. And then we'll do, like I said, a brace from back here up to the bed somewhere here, to keep it from flopping around in the wind. And then when the bed is back off the next time, I'll weld the fender to that brace that goes across, as well as touch up any of the last minute things, and I think we'll be done, at least for this phase. We're eventually going to put a toolbox here, another toolbox back here, and when we're ready to do that, we'll take the bed back off. We may have to take this back off. I may not have cut that brace on this side off enough. Alright, I don't know if you can see it exactly on here, but I filled that wedge that I just overcut it. I should have measured 3 times instead of only twice. Doesn't matter. Filled in. Well, I got to weld it up, but there's a piece in there to fill it. So we'll just come in, we're going to weld this up, we're going to weld this up, and then the second one, we'll grind all that down. Well, all right, that's it. I got a little bit of shape here I need to add back in with a dolly and a hammer. Right in here, there's a low spot right there. Not that big a deal. Got it all formed in. cleaned off, and you can see now when I start cleaning all that off, that's why the diamond plate kind of goes away. And I'm going to have to weld on the rub bar, cut a piece of it off here, and weld it on like that. So I'll be welding back on there, which I guess not that big a deal. Anyway, I still think I'm just probably going to take some 40 grit and sand all the diamond plate off the sides, and then when I go back with the panels that'll be in here for the toolboxes, they'll just be regular old, probably like cold rolled 1/8 inch, and I'll take out this gusset and put us a new one in, and then up here I'll put in one all the way down and just clears the step.